This conference will now be recorded.
चतुर्मुखसमारम्भं वाग्भटाचार्यमध्यमम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। रागादिरोगान् सततानुषक्तान् अशेषकायप्रसृतान् अशेषान् औत्सुक्यमोहारदिदान् जघान यो पूर्ववैद्याय नमोऽस्तु तस्मै. Namaskaram to all. So once again we are back in Snehvidhi. In our last session we saw that Tailam Pravrishi Varshante Sarpi Anyautu Madhave. Before that we saw the specific advantage of each Sneha. Then we were seeing this part Tailam Pravrishi Varshante Sarpi Anyautu Madhave. हृदौ साधारणे स्नेहः शस्तोन्हि विमले रवौ. So in this is something like a generalized advice or suggestion about the usage of these snehas. So we find in the Pravrit Ritu. Pravrit is the early Varsham or Varshadhyam. So during that time, it is the time of Vayu, and you may use Tailam for that during that season. Then Varshandam is Sharat, which is a time suitable for Pittakopam. Then at that time, you may use Sarpi. Then Madhavam. Madhavam is Vasandartu, which is a Ritu favorable for Kapha Vriddhi or Kapha Kopam. Then during that time, you can use Vasa and Majja. This is not for Shamana purpose. This is in general, as I mentioned, the statement in general is about Shodhana Chikitsa. So that may be the context. But interestingly, as we had a couple of questions in our last session, it is not a general practice to use this Vasa or Majja for Shodhananga Snehapanam. So that sort of points we have to keep in our mind. This advice should go to the previous observations in our earlier chapters like Atyushna Varsha Shitahi Grishma Varsha Himagamaha Sandhau Sadharane Tesham Dushtan Doshan Vishodhayed. So it is Shodhana Chikitsa. Atyushna Varsha Shitahi Grishma Varsha Himagamaha. So when we look at the Ritu Chakram, we find Hemandam, Shishiram, Vasandam, Grishmam, Varsham, Sharat. That is how the Ritu completes one cycle. Then again Hemandam, Shishiram, Vasandam goes on like that. So here it is observed in an ideal situation. Atyushna Varsha Shitahi Grishma Varsha Himagamaha. So Grishmam is Atyushnam, Varsham is Adivarsham, and Himam is Adi Shita. So generally it is not opted to go for a Shodhana Chikitsa during these Ati Avasthas. Then what is the solution or what should be the strategy सन्धौ साधारणे तेषां तेषां सन्धौ तेषां साधारणे सन्धौ. So in the that interim period between these extremes, so what happens? Atyushna Varsha Sidahi Grishma Varsha. Between Grishmam and Varsham, we'll get Pravrit. Then between Varsham and Himagamam, or that cold season, we get Sharath. And between the Hima Ritu and Grishmam, we will get Vasanta. So the Tesham Sadharane Sandhau means this Pravrit, Sharath, and Vasanta. That is what we find here. Tailam Pravrishi, Varshande Sarpi, Anyautu Madhave. This we should connect with the Shidodbhavam Doshachayam Vasante, Vishodhayan Grishmajam Abhragale, Ghanatye Varshigam, Ashu Samyak, Prapnodi Rogan Rudujan Najadu. So these are all interconnected. So then only we understand that even though it is not a common practice to use Vasa or Majja for Shodhananga Snehapanam, the situation explained here is Shodhananga Snehapanam. But a Vaidya who is experienced enough and intelligent enough can have his own versions of applications in this regard. So, Tailam Pravrishi Varshante Sarpir Anyautu Madhave. Then another general rule is Ridau Sadharane Sneha. So Ridau Sadharane, that we found that these are the Sadharana Ritus in between. Then Sneha Shastaha Anhi. So in general, Sneha is given Anhi in Ahas, daytime, when Vimale Ravau, when the Ravi is Vimala. Vimala. Here the Vaimalyam means the without any cloud or without any other obstructions. When the sun, Ravi, is Vimala, bright. I mean, not in terms of the hot sun, but in terms of the uninterrupted presence of sun. That is Vimale Ravau. So, three things. Sandhau Sadharane, Anhi, Vimale Ravau, Snehaha, Shastaha. This is a general rule. Now, we find certain extended suggestions about the use of snehas. What is that? Tailam tvarayam sheetevi. Tailam tvarayam sheetevi. Tvarayam. Tvarayam means a particular situation where the vyadhyavastha demands immediate intervention, but the time as prescribed in the ideal situation and the time which the Vyadhyavastha demands, they do not match with each other. Then what we will do? Tvarayam, in case of an emergency, in case of an urgent application required, Shite api tailam. Shite api tailam. So, tvarayam shite api tailam. So generally Sheetam is excluded from the ideal season for doing Shodhana Chikitsa because it is Adishita. Atyushna Varsha Shita hi Grishma Varsha Himagama. So Sheetam is excluded from that list. But a Vyadhyavastha, Vaidya faces with a situation where a Vyadhitaha, Rogi, needs a Shodhana Chikitsa in Shita Ritu. So differing the treatment for another column is not ideal, is not justifiable because that will change the kriya kalam. So the advice what we find there is कृत्वा शीतोष्णवृष्टीनां प्रतीकारं यथा यथं प्रयोजयेल क्रियां प्राप्तां क्रियाकालं न हापयेत्. So that is very very important. Kriyakalam na hapayed. This is a very important advice. So in order to prevent the danger of missing a particular kriyakala in a Shita Ritu, what you can do, you can go for Thailam. Ideally, Thailam is the choice in Pravrit, Thailam Pravrshi. But Twarayam tu, Shite api Thailam. Then, Gharme picha Kritam Nishi. Gharme picha Kritam Nishi. In the same way, Gharme, Gharma means Grishma Ritu. Gharma means Grishma. So, in the Grishma Ritu, Twarayam, in a situation of urgency, Kritam, you may go for Kritam. Generally, Gharmam, Grishmam is Atyushnam and not ideal for Shodhana Chikitsa. But Twarayam, in case of an urgency, you go for it using Kritam. And in that case, when the treatment should be done, generally the advice is Ridau Sadharane Sneha Shastonhi Vimale Ravau. Anhi Vimale Ravau. Ravau Vimale Shastaha. So that part shall be compromised in this Twarayam Grishme. You go for Kritam. Generally, Kritam is the choice for Varshande Sharat. Here, even if it is Grishma Ritu, we go for Kritam, but in that case, the Snehapanam should be done at night. Nishi. Nishi. Karme picha Kritam Nishi. These are all quite insightful statements. So, Shite api Tailam. Shite api Tailam. Karme api Kritam. Karme api Kritam. Twarayam. In case of an emergency or urgent use. So it is something like a modified use, isn't it? As we used to say about certain interesting terms during our pandemic times, repurposing. So here it is not repurposing, it is modifying the usage. Shite api tailam, gharme api kritam. So it is the logic behind these things can be understood by simply relating it to the influence of these snehas with the corresponding dosha and also the influence of the kala. Then Nishieva. So when we conclude this with the Gharme Picha Kritam Nishi, something which is related with the usage of sneha in Nishi, that means the night, that aspect is going to be completed. It came into the discussion accidentally, but as it has come once, the other things that okay, something related with that Nishi usage may be completed here. So we find Nishyeva Pitte Pavane Samsarge Pittavati Api. Nishyeva Pitte Pavane Samsarge Pittavati Api. So here the situations where the Nishipanam or Nishapanam of Sneham is generalized with this explanation. What is that? Pitte Nishiyeva. Whatever the situation, if the dosha predominance of a particular vyadhi is pitta, then it is ideal to go for nishapanam of sneha. Similarly, in pavana, pavana means in vata, in pavana also, you may go for nishapanam. Nishyeva pitte pavane pittavati samsarge api. Pittavati samsarge. Any samsarga. Samsarga sannipadascha tadvitrikshayakopatah. So pittavati samsarge. That means any samsarga where pitta is a partner. Then also you go for nishapanam. This is also an interesting note because generally we think that okay, shastonni vimaleravau. So we think that we cover a lot of area. Then coming to this exception, pitte nishi, pavane nishi. So the only remaining dosha is kapha. So a situation where you are uh, not supposed to use the sneha in nishi is kabhaja. Then pavana is also covered and pittavati samsarga. That means vada pittam or vada kapha. So in general, the picture is quite interesting and complex. So coming to the commentary by our Arunadatta, we find न च घर्म एव निश्युपयुञ्जीत यावत् पित्ते कुपिते तज्जेवा विकारे तथा पवने कुपिते तज्जेवा विकारे स्नेहसाध्ये घर्मे कृतं nishi upayunjita. So he is connecting this pitta and pavana with the karma ritu, grishma ritu, and also to the usage of kritam. So then I think it is becoming a little bit specific that way. Karme kritam nishiyupayunjita na diva na cha tailam vasamajjanau va. So that explanation by Arunadatta gives some sort of a clarity to this idea. तथा पित्तवती पित्ताधिके संसर्गे वातपित्ताख्ये श्लेष्मपित्ताख्ये कुपिते तज्जेवा विकारे स्नेहसाध्ये कर्मे Kritameva nishi upayunjita. Pitte pavane ityedad dosha vigaro bhayalakshanartham vedyam. Pittavati iti bhumni. That is about the Vyakarana. Forget it. So the commentators took all the effort to explain. It is always like this. Otherwise, practically, there will be very limited situations where you can give the sneha in the daytime. But now Arunadatta puts some effort to clarify the prayoga. Fine. Then Nisyanyatha Vatakabhadrogaha Syu Pittado Diva. So whether the point by Arunadatta is justifiable, can that shloka or the line be explained in such a way? These are all matters of debates. I think these are not to be debated based on the intellectual level, but these are to be put into practice and debated on the bedsides. Then only the idea will be clearer. Now here we find nishi anyatha, otherwise. If it is done in a different way, that means against what we explained here. That means the uh, that the usage of Shitakale, Nishi, Kritopayogad, likewise, certain complications are expected. So certain adverse responses are expected. What is that? Vatakapad rogaha sihu. Vatakapad rogaha sihu. So if a snehapana is done in the night, Nishi, against the rule which we have given here, so that means the Nishi Snehapanam is primarily focusing the Pitta. When the dosha is Ushna and the Sneha selected is Krita, better you go for Nishapanam. That is the crux of the story. Otherwise, if you go for the Snehapanam in such a situation in the daytime, what will happen? You may expect a complication in the form of a Vada Kabhaja Roga. Vada Kabhaja Roga. In the same way, Pittado Diva. In a case where you're not supposed to uh, go for a Snehapana in the day and you go for it, that may end up in an adverse picture of a Paitiga Vyadhi. Using Krita in the Diva daytime against the advice. Advice is of to use it in the night. Then you can expect a Paitiga Vyadhi manifesting because of the chikitsa. Paitiga Vyadhi manifesting because as a result of this faulty administration of Sneha. So it is all about the Ushna, Shita, Gunotkarsha, and also about the Ruksha, Snigdha quality. So basically, it is all about the Vimshati Gunas, or basically, I think even coming to the basic 6 gunas or so. This is very, very important. So I'll be just reading it once again. Tailam tvarayam shidevi karmepi cha khridam nishi nishi eva pitte pavane samsarge pittavatyapi nishi anyatha vatakapad rogasyu pittado diva. With that, the general advice about Snehapana is over. Then we are going to somewhat a detailed description of Snehapana. I mean, more practical details about Snehapana. Next shloka, what we see, युक्त्या avacharayed sneham bhakshyadyanena vastibhihi nasya abhyanjana gandusha murdha karnakshi tarpanaihi. युक्त्या avacharayed sneham bhakshyadyanena vastiभिः nasya abhyanjana gandusha murdha karnakshi tarpanaihi. We find many usages here. Sneham avacharayed. Sneham avacharayed. How? Bhakshyadi annena sneham avacharayed. Bhakshyadi annena sneham avacharayed. Avacharayed, you put into application. Avacharanam. Avacharanam is prayoga. So you go for the sneha prayoga. Bhakshyadi annena. Bhakshyadi. And you know that there are different types of edible stuffs, different forms like bhojyam, peyam, khadyam, lehyam, like that. So along with these sort of food forms, sneham avacharayed. That is one possibility. Then vastibhihi sneham avacharayed. Vastibhihi sneham avacharayed. Snehavasti. Then nasyabhyanjana gandusha murdha karnakshi tarpanaihi sneham avacharayed. Nasyam, one possibility of sneha avacharanam. Abhyanjanam, which is a bahya kriya. Gandusham, murdha tarpanam, that means murdhabhyangam. Karna tarpanam, which is karna puranam. Akshi tarpanam, which is netra tarpanam. Just 1 minute. Sorry for that. So nasya abhyanjana gandusha murdha karna akshi tarpanaihi sneham avacharayed. So these are all possibilities. These are all possibilities. You can use, apply sneham bhakshyadi annena, apply sneham vastibhihi, nasyena, abhyanjanena, gandushena, murdha tarpanena, karna tarpanena, akshi tarpanena. Using all these tools, you have the option of applying sneham. Then, considering all these options open, the author continues, रसभेदैककत्वाभ्यं चतुष्षष्टिर्विचारणा स्नेहस्य अन्याभिभूतत्वाद् अल्पत्वात् च क्रमाद् स्मृताः. रसभेदैककत्वाभ्यं चतुष्षष्टिर्विचारणा स्नेहस्य अन्याभिभूतत्वाद् अल्पत्वात् च क्रमाद् स्मृताः. So here we meet with one particular type of sneha prayoga, which is technically known as sneha vicharana. Sneha vicharana. Vicharana is actually a mode of use, a sneha prayoga kalpana. Vicharana is a type of usage, sneha prayoga kalpana. So what we find here is rasabheda ekakatvabhyam, rasabhedam and rasabhedascha, then ekakatvam cha. Total we find chadushashti. Considering the rasabhedam, rasabhediyam, we had one chapter called rasabhediyam in between. Actually, we did not discuss that chapter. Rasabhedam plus rasa egakatva, 6, 1 1 1 1 1 1, like that, 6 rasas. Together there are 64 chadushashtihi vicharana. So here we find that bhakshyadya annena mixed with the bhakshyadi annam. So whenever we use this sneham along with some sort of other dravya which has got a particular rasa which will be taken as a norm here, we can assume that there are possibilities of 64 types of usages, and each of these 64 can be considered as a particular vicharana, a particular prayoga kalpana of sneha. Rasabheda egagatvabhyam chadushashtir vicharana. Then the author continues, snehasya anyabhibhudatvad alpatvad cha kramad smritaha. Snehasya anyabhibhudatvam. Anyabhibhudatvam means anyena vastuna abhibhudatvam. Abhibhudatvam means to get sort of avaranam or masking, or the way in which the presence of a particular principle diminishes the presence of another principle. So in such situation we say that the dominant tattva principle caused the abhibhavam of the other, that dormant principle. That is abhibhavam. So here abhibhudatvam, snehasya anyabhibhudatvam. Here there is sneha used, but along with something else. And there is a possibility that that something else dominates over the sneha, making it some sort of a abhibhavam or abhibhudam. So that because of that abhibhudatvam, and also because of alpatvad, also because of alpatvam, these chadushashti, 64 types are known as vicharana. So that technical term called vicharana in Ayurveda has got this sort of a meaning, that it is the in that particular usage of sneha there is alpatvam of sneha and there is anyabhibhudatvam of sneha. These are the two criteria for naming a particular sneha prayoga as vicharana. So kramad snehasya anyabhibhudatvad alpatvad cha snehasya. So we have specific reasons given for a snehapana or a sneha prayoga to be called as vicharana, and that vicharana are enumerated as 64 in number. Rasa bheda igagatvabhyam, rasa bheda igagatvabhyam chadushashtir vicharanaha snehasya anyabhibhudatvad alpatvad cha kramad smritaha. Then in the next sloka, the author reveals another type of use sneha prayoga, which is entirely different from that of the vicharana type. What is that? Yadhokta hetvabhavad च नाच्छपेयो विचारणा यथोक्तहेत्वभावात् च नाच्छपेयो विचारणा अच्छपेयः विचारणा न. Another way of using sneha, which is technically known as achapanam. Achapanam is not a vicharana. Vicharana is a prayoga where there is snehasya anyabhibhudatvam and alpatvam. So if you can remove these two critical interventions, that means you avoid snehasya anyabhibhutatvam, you avoid snehasya alpatvam, then if that happens, then there is no vicharana in it. Yathokta hetva bhavad na vicharana. And such a usage where this snehasya anyabhibhutatvam and alpatvam is cleared, then technically that usage is known as achapanam. Snehasya achapanam, sneha achapanam. That sneha achapanam is not a vicharana. यथोक्त हेत्वभावाच्च नाच्छपेयो विचारणा स्नेहस्य कल्पः स श्रेष्ठः. स्नेहस्य कल्पः सः श्रेष्ठः. सः कल्पः श्रेष्ठः. स्नेहस्य सः कल्पः. As far as the usage of sneha is concerned, this particular type of usage of sneha, which is known as achapana, which is having no vicharana in it, is considered as shresthaha, prashastaha. That is prashastaha, shresthaha. For calling it as prashastam or shreshtam or excellent, there is a reason. What is that? It is not just about the abhavam of that karanas, but apart from that, sneha karma ashu sadhanad. Sneha karma ashu sadhanatvam. Ashu, quick. Sneha karma ashu sadhanatvam. This particular usage of achapanam is having a peculiar property of sneha karma ashu sadhanam. It can bring about snehana karmam, how ashu, quickly, with great pace. Snehasya kalpaha saha shresthaha sneha karmashu sadhanat. Because of this sneha karmashu sadhanatvam, snehasya kalpaha saha shresthaha. Snehasya saha kalpaha shresthaha. I think the ideas are clear. Then next we find certain combination or combined usage of snehas. Dvabhyam, sorry, it is not about the combined usage, it is about the types of snehana. What is that? Dvabhyam chadurбhirashtabhiryamayirjiryanti yaha kramad hraswamadhya uttama matra ta ताभ्यश्च ह्रसीयसीं कल्पयेद् वीक्ष्य दोषादीन् प्रागेव तु ह्रसीयसीम्. What is it? We will find the details. द्वाभ्यां चतुर्भिः अष्टाभिः यामैः जीर्यन्ति याः क्रमाद् ह्रस्वमध्योत्तमाः मात्राः ताः. द्वाभ्यां चतुर्भिः अष्टाभिः यामैः जीर्यन्ति याः क्रमाद् ह्रस्व मध्य उत्तमा मात्राः ताः ताः that usage or those usages which द्वाभ्यां चतुर्भिः अष्टाभिः क्रमाद् यामैः या मात्रा जीर्यन्ति या मात्रा जीर्यन्ति ता ह्रस्वमध्योत्तमाः मात्राः क्रमाद् ताः क्रमाद् ह्रस्व मध्य उत्तमाः मात्राः. So what is it? ह्रस्व मध्योत्तमाः मात्राः ताः ह्रस्व मध्योत्तमाः मात्राः. They are ताः ह्रस्व मध्योत्तमाः मात्राः. They are ह्रस्व मध्य उत्तम matras. They can be considered or they should be understood as hraswa matra, madhyama matra, uttama matra. Those matras, those quantities. Which quantities? Ya dvabhyam chadurбhihi ashtabhihi yamaihi kramad जीर्यन्ति. याः क्रमाद् द्वाभ्यां चतुर्भिः अष्टाभिः यामैः जीर्यन्ति. ताः मात्राः क्रमाद् ह्रस्व मध्योत्तमाः ह्रस्व मध्य उत्तमाः मात्राः. So now it is clear. So that dose which goes through Jiryandi, Jaranam, which is going through Jiryandi, Jaranam in Dvabhyam 2, Chadurbhihi 4, Ashtabhihi 8. So that quantity which is going through Jaranam in द्वाभ्यां यामैः द्वाभ्यां चतुर्भिः अष्टाभिः यामैः क्रमाद् respectively द्वाभ्यां in 2, चतुर्भिः in 4, अष्टाभिः in 8 यामैः. By these yamas, that means 2, 4 and 8, one yama, then here we find one yama is 3 hours. So here we find dvabhyam 2 yamas, that means 6 hours. Chadurbhihi, that is 12 hours. Ashtabhihi, that means 24 hours. Kramad, so respectively the quantity of sneha which undergoes jaranam in 4 or 2, 4 or 8 yamas respectively gains the status of hraswa matra, madhyama matra and uttama matra. So hraswa matra is the quantity which undergoes jaranam in 2 matras. 2 yama, not matra. This is regarding the matra of the sneha, but the time period required is yamam. So in 2 yamam is known as hraswa matra. 4 yama, that is known as madhyama matra, and 8 yamas, so that is 24 hours, that is known as uttama matra. Hraswa matra, madhyama matra and uttama matra. 4 yama, 2 yama, 4 yama, and 8 yamas. Then Tabhyascha hrasiyasim kalpayed vikshya doshadin. Tabhyascha hrasiyasim kalpayed vikshya doshadin. So making these three hraswa madhyottama matra as standard, you may use or plan or implement hrasiyasi matra, no problem. So we have hraswa matra, madhyama matra, and uttama matra. Based on the dosham, based on the dushyam, based on the rogi balam, based on the dhadu balam, sattva balam, desham, kalam, there are many variables. Based on the changes in these variables, hrasiyasi matram kalpayed. Doesn't matter. You may go for a still lower dose, which may be known as hrasiyasi matra. Then prageva tu hrasiyasim. Prageva hrasiyasim matram tu kalpayed. So to start with, prageva, in the beginning, hrasiyasi matram kalpayed. Hrasiyasi. Hrasiyasi means or represents still short, still small than the hraswa. Still small than the hraswa matra. So in we will find the Chakrapa, sorry, Arunadatta's comment. Hrasiyasi adishayena hraswa. Adishayena hraswa. So you can go for it. Prageva tu hrasiyasi. In the beginning, prag, in the beginning of a snehapana, tu invariably or verily hrasiyasim eva. Hrasiyasim matram eva kalpaye. To start with, you should not venture into a higher dose of sneha. Why? There are many risks. Sometimes we can find ajnada kostehi bahu kuryad jivida samshayam. That is an observation by Ashtanga Sangraha. In ajnada kosthata, because when we are giving this sneham to an individual, its consumption, its utility is determined by multiple factors in the system, like how strong is the Agni, how strong is the Grahani. So there are multiple variables to be decided, to be considered before deciding the matra. So to start with, don't venture into higher doses, even to a hraswa matra. Don't go for even a hraswa matra, but start with an adishayena hraswa matra, that is hrasiyasi matra, and make a proper understanding of the koshtavastha, agnyavastha, and many other relative principles, so that you can continue with the snehapanam in a safer manner. So dvabhyam chadurbhir ashtabhir yamayar jivyandi ya kramad hraswamadhyottama matrastastabhyascha hrasiyasim kalpayed vikshya doshadin pragevatu hrasiyasim. Everyone may be knowing the clinical importance of this snehapanam. Here we should mention that this is ideally ideally is a statement regarding the shodhana chikitsa, and so this is specific to the shodhana purva snehapanam. So here we find ideally we find three matras: hraswam, madhyamam, uttamam, that is 2 yama, 4 yama, or 8 yamas, or in terms of hours, it is 6 hours, or 12 hours, or 24 hours. So 24-hour means a whole day and night. So it goes from a lower limit of 6 hours to an upper limit of 24 hours. So you are supposed to start at least with a dose which can get processed in 6 hours, but then there is an advice, prageva tu hrasiyasi adishayena hraswa. That means don't even go for the hraswa matra. That means the quantity which may get processed in 6 hours. You come down still and go with something like which can be processed comfortably in 1 hour time or 2 hours time, and like that we should make the entire exercise, because otherwise when you have no good idea about the status of the costum or the type of costum sangraha, we can see giving a warning here. That means ajnata koshtehi bahu kurya jivita samshayam, that can turn to be a fatal intervention as far as the patient is concerned. So that is very very important. Then there are many points to be discussed at this point, at this regarding this explanation. Before that, I think we will go through the textual descriptions of these things, and we will come back to maybe an open session on these ideas of snehapanam. Now we find hyastane jirna evanne snehocha shuddhaye bahu शमनः क्षुद्वदोनन्नः मध्यमात्रश्च शस्यते. Then ब्रह्मणो रसमद्याद्यैः सबक्तः अल्पः सबक्तः अल्पः. So here we find three types of snehapanam which may be known as Shodhanapurva Snehapanam, Shuddhaye, that is the word used. So Shodhanapurva Snehapanam, then Shamana Snehapanam, and the third one is Brahmana Snehapanam. So we have a Shodhanapurva Snehapanam, we have a Shamana Snehapanam, and we have a Brahmana Snehapanam. So obviously we should have thought, not now when you were learning this for the first time in your UG classes or so. We might have thought how a sneha is known as Brahmana sneha, or what makes a sneha a Brahmana sneha, or what makes a sneha a Shodhana Purva sneha. Are they different? Can they be used interchangeably? All these are questions of uh, uh, questions among the students, very in a very wide manner. So that also to be addressed. We will come to it later. We will see this sloga once again. Hyastane jirna evanne snehocha shuddhaye bahu. Hyastane ह्यस्तने जीर्ण एव अन्ने जीर्णे एव अन्ने जीर्णे एव अन्ने स्नेहः अच्छः शुद्धये बहु. So शुद्धये, for the purpose of shodhana chikitsa, शुद्धये अच्छः स्नेहः. Achha sneha, sneha in the form of achapanam. Bahu, bahu is a word which shows the bulk, the quantity. Bahu means maybe the uttama matra or something like that, which we saw earlier. Shuddhaye bahu. So shuddhaye, for the purpose of shuddhi, that means shodhana purva snehapanam. Achha sneha, achha sneham, bahu. in large quantity, in big matra. When hyastane jirna eva anne, hyastane jirne eva anne, hyastane anne jirne eva, hyastanam the previous. If it is taking the morning, the breakfast as a reference, hyastana means the previous dinner. So hyastane anne jirne eva, when the meal annam of the previous time, previous meal, jirne eva, have gone through the completion of jarana itself. So right at that point, when the ahara which we consumed in the previous meal time, annakala, jirneva, just got through the stage of jaranam, jirnata, then achaha snehaha, shuddhaye bahu. Acha sneham shall be used in bahu, in big matra. So from the hraswa, madhyama, uttama matra, you should opt for big matra. That means uttama matra. That is the first proposal. If you are planning to go for a shodhananga snehapanam, you may give a bahu matra, uttama matra of sneha when the previous meal is just completed the digestion. Just previous meal has just completed the digestion. Then shamanaha chudvadonannaha, shamanaha chudvataha anannaha madhyamatrascha shasyate. Shamanaha, shamanaha snehaha chudvataha, chudvataha, to whom the shamana sneha is to be introduced or given, chudvataha, somebody who is with truth, with bubhuksha, chudvataha, anannaha, anannam, without annam, shamanaha chudvataha anannaha madhyamatraha cha shasyate. Madhyamatra, it is about the quantity. Before, in Shodhana Chikitsa we found Bahu, here we find Madhyamatraha. Madhyamatra means the sneha which get processed in Chadurbhihi, Chadurbhihi Yamaihi. That means 12 hours. 12 hours. Then next we find Brahmano Rasamadhyagdihi Sabhaktaha Alpaha. Brahmanaha Snehapanaha or Snehaha Rasamadhyagdihi. Rasamadhyagdihi. So here we do not find the Acha Snehapana. Brahmana Snehanam is not specified as Achapanam. Rasamadhyagdihi. So it is a Vicharana. Sabhaktaha, sabhaktaha, along with or mixed in the bhaktaha, sabhaktaha, the food, along with the food or even mixed with the food, sabhaktaha. Alpaha matra is alpam, that means the hraswa matra. So when you are giving the snehapanam or sneham in that style, the outcome is considered as brahmana. So we find three outcomes or targets. Number one is shodhanam, number two is shamanam, and number three is brahmanam. Shamana, that ह्यस्तने जीर्ण एवान्ये स्नेहोच्छ शुद्धये बहु शमनक्षुद्वदोनन्नः मध्यमात्रश्च शस्यते ब्रह्मणो रसमद्याद्यैः सभक्त्वल्पः सभक्तः अल्पः च. So I think at that point we will finish today's session. Then we will go through the remaining portions in our next sittings. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, Prasad sir, for today's session. I think Dr. Beatrice has a doubt.
Oh, okay, I will see. Right. What about the kritam given in some of the Shalakya cases at night? Does this Snehapana is following this rule also? Yeah, ideally this should follow the rule if it is given in the prescribed format of Snehapana. But whereas even the I think still down than the Hrasiyasi Matra, in a very small amount of kritam given in the night, I think need not always follow these rules as a very hard and fast rule. But ideally, I think it is good to follow this rule. Then one more question is there in Hemanta Shishira and Grishma Kala for Snehapana in Kabhaja Vikara. What time of the day is ideal? Yeah, generally that Shastanhi Vimale Ravau. That is the general advice in all these Rutus. But in the Grishma, as I mentioned earlier, Grishma is not ideal for Snehapana or Shodhana Chikitsa. So that also should be, it is not a Sadharana Ritu. So ideally, these Hemanta Shishta and Grishma are not considered good for Snehapana. Then in the Kabhaja Vikara, in the Hemanta Shishira Ritu, you can go for the Thailam, that Thailam Tvarayam Shitepi in the Kabhaja Vikara. In the Grishma Kala also, for all doshas, you can go for Kritam, but in at night. Then there is one more point. Sir, Achapana for Shodhana. That the question is, I could not make out what is the point. Achapana for Shodhana. Yes, that is what we saw earlier. That means Hestane Jiva Jirna Evanne Sneha Chaha Shuddhaye Bahu. What is the doubt? Ashwin, can you ask
Sir,
directly?
sir, sir, Achapana is Asamskrita Snehana, sir.
Achapana, that Anyabhibhavatvam should not have happened. That's all. It need not be an Asamskrita Snehana. It need not be Asamskrita, but the Snehamsha should not have gone through a stage of that Abhibhava. When you mix a krita with another ahara or madhya or something like that, and when you process a krita or a sneha as part of its samskarana, these are two separate things. Here that bhakshyadya annena vastibhihi, that bhakshyadya annam, that is the that abhibhavaka hetu. When we are doing a samskarana, that sort of an abhibhava is not happening. So Achapanam means sneham, Sanskritam or otherwise used without mixing it with some other substance or other stuff like aharam or paniyam or something like that. Okay.
All these Chatushashti Vicharana, sir, it
Uh,
is more related with the food and other articles which are used along with the Sneha,
yes.
not as a Samskrita Sneha. But in
not
the
as
Samskrita Sneha, also the Sneha will be affected, and also it will be influenced by the dravyas which are used for the samskara of the Sneha, no, sir?
no. I think ultimately in the Sneha Paga Vidhi, all other stuff than the Aushadha Virya of that particular stuff is removed. Nothing else is taken as a part of the Sneha except the Aushadha Virya or that Guna. That is what we say when you are doing a Samskarana, you are assimilating the Guna from that, but not the stuff as such. So there is no issue of the abhibhavam by the other dravya, and there is no addition of something else other than the sneha dravya. So that samskarana does not see compromise in the so-called candidature for acha snehapana or acha sneha. Is it clear?
I got it, sir. But I just need to think how
Yeah, yeah.
the when,
Just think
even
it
when the
over.
samskara is done. Eh?
Yeah, when samskarana is done, only the gunandara is that other guna or the virya or whatever is supposed to be assimilated is taken, not that dravya in the form of bhakshana or pana or any of the stuff. But suppose you are mixing some sneha, whether it is Samskrita or Asamskrita, with some sort of a dish like cooked rice or something else like a glass of milk or whatever it is, then I think there is a compromise in the way in which the sneha as such is used and the sneha which is mixed is used. So then it is becoming a vicharana there because there is snehasya anyabhibhavam is happening. But in a Samskrita Sneha, there is no the way the Sneha quality is modified. Then there are many questions which I foresee. That means whether we should use a Samskrita Sneha for a Snehapana in the case of a Shodhana, or that plain Sneha, Asamskrita Sneha is enough. Such a question, there is a space or a Purva Paksha is there. I think during that stage, definitely you can raise that question and we will discuss it. But right now, my point is, did you get the idea that Murchita Sneha or Samskrita Sneha is not becoming Abhibhava by Anyadravya?
So I think I will ask one question, sir. If it is not right time, you just tell me. So if the etiktaka gruta, etikta qualities of other dravyas will be imparted into the sneha, whether
Hmm.
that will not influence the sneha qualities, sir. That influences obviously. The action of the sneha will be influenced when we are processing a ghruta or any of
Hmm.
the sneha with the tikta dravyas. The
Yes.
tikta dravya will not be there, but the qualities are the tikta dravyas will be incorporated into the sneha. That will be influencing the sneha action of the sneha whatever we have taken.
Yeah, that is again a very interesting question. See, that is where we need to have some sort of a specificity in the usage. See, for example, um, suppose one particular clinical situation where you find the usage of Tiktagakrita for Snehapana. See, Kushta, classical example where the Prakarana itself is with Tiktagakritam. So in that particular stage, we find that okay, you may go for the Snehapana with the Tiktaga Kritam. Then in another situation, you may find that, okay, here you go for that Snehapana with some Madhura Ushada Samskrita Tailam. So, what makes this choice or choices different or specific? That is the question. So, in both the situations, you could have gone for the Snehapana with the Asamskrita Sneha, isn't it?
Yes.
That also is sufficient when you ask, when you look technically, that is sufficient for this sort of a Shodhana Purva Snehapana. Then still, why do they suggest that, okay, that Kushtinam Snehapanena Purvam Sarvam Upajared? Then immediately we find Tiktaga Krita Yoga. So there is a question, why should you go for Tiktaga Kritam? Then after the Snehavana Vidhi, we find Snehidam Vamayed. So it is not a Samana Sneham, it is a Shodhana Purva Snehanam. So what is the logic of prescribing that particular Krita Yogam with Tiktarasam or Tiktarasa Adhikyam, in particular Samprapti? So that does not compromise in the Acha Swabhavata of the Sneham, but it gives an additional advantage to the clinician and to the rogi as well. What is that advantage? When you are using a asamskrita sneha for utklesana, in all clinical situations, technically that is feasible. That is, nobody can question that decision. Why do you go for an asamskrita sneha? But you should understand that, which I think we should discuss it later also. The dharma of sneha in a shodhana purva snehapana is to bring sort of utkleshana, first utkledana and then utkleshana. And this is happening in the dhadu level and the srotas level, where the doshas are embedded. Doshas are in a state of linavatha. So while you are trying to extract that lina dosha with the induced utkleda and utklesha, you are going to create dhadukshobha. When you are using asamskrita sneha in a samprapti for bringing out about this utkledana and utklesana, that is going to be a Sarva Vyapta Utklesanam and Utkledanam. Whereas if you use a particular Krita Kalpana, say Tiktaga Kritam, that will have a specificity or inclination towards the particular Samprapti of the Vyadhi. So when we use Tiktaga Kritam in the context of Kushtam, this Tiktaka Kritam will have an affinity towards the doshas involved in the Kushta Samprapti, so that the Dhaduk Shobha that can be expected otherwise can be minimized and made specific to the doshas and dhadus involved in the given situation. So that is why we find the usage of certain specific Samskrita snehas for snehapana. Technically, the other usage is also correct, but the unwanted interference with the dhadus and srodhasas can be avoided in the case of Samskrita sneha. Did you get some idea? I'm not very sure whether I over narrated it.
No, sir, it is more clear. And also, my original point was even though in the Samskrita Sneha, the Sneha Dharma will be retained as specific affinity towards the area of the target.
Yes.
Yes, that is what. Even with the Samskarana, the Sneha property of that particular Sneha that will be intact.
Intact. But
That is
it is
more in the Gita. That is why it is called Samskarasya Anuvartana. So that's
yes,
why it is Snehana Shrestha. It is the Shrestha one.
exactly. So that the specificity is the most important point in the case of Samskrita Snehas. Got
Yes,
it
I
here?
got it. Sneha Dharma will be intact
Yes,
without compromising that Dharma of the Sneha.
exactly.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
There is one more question, I think, in the chat box. Shodhana Sneha should not be taken if patient feels hungry. Only previous food digested. Yes, that is correct. What Dr. Ujjwala asked or what Dr. Ujjwala understood is correct.
Okay, sir. Thanks.
Yes. Thank you very much, Prasad sir, for today's session. I think we will call it for the day and meet in our next session, sir.
Yes. Thank you very much. Shubharatri to all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. Shubharatri.